Imagine the thrill of space exploration, the ultimate frontier of human endeavor. Since the dawn of the space age, millions have looked to the skies, awestruck by the power and ambition of rockets launching into the cosmos. This isn't just a story of a single event, it's a look at the intricate dance between ambition, engineering, and the unforgiving nature of space itself. But with every triumph in space, there lurks an inherent, terrifying risk. Aboard were a diverse and highly skilled crew: Commander Rick Husband, Pilot William McCool, Mission Specialists Kalpana Laurel Clark, David Brown, Payload Commander Michael Anderson, and Israel's first astronaut, Payload Specialist Ilan Ramon. 2003. A piece of foam insulation, roughly the size of a briefcase and weighing about 1.67 pounds, had broken off from the external fuel tank at around 8:48 a.m. EST. As the shuttle was passing over California, sensors in the left wing began to detect unusual readings, including increased temperatures. These were initially dismissed by ground control as minor anomalies or instrumentation issues. However, over the next few minutes, the situation rapidly ground controllers began receiving a flurry of alerts. As more sensors failed, and the shuttle, as control systems struggled to maintain stability, the atmospheric friction, designed to slow the shuttle, was now exploiting the breach in its thermal protection system. This piece of foam struck the leading edge of Columbia's left wing. Witnesses on the ground reported seeing bright streaks, unusual contrails, and then multiple debris trails across the sky, accompanied by loud booms. The Space Shuttle Columbia had broken apart, scattering debris over a wide area of Texas and Louisiana. The dream of its return had become a devastating nightmare, ending a mission that, on the surface, appeared flawless. The impact was observed by cameras, and though it caused some concern among engineers, the severity of the damage was not fully understood or appreciated by key decision-makers at NASA during the mission. They concluded that it was unlikely to cause significant damage and did not warrant a more detailed inspection. While the shuttle was in orbit, they had spent 16 days in orbit, conducting various microgravity experiments, and were eagerly anticipating their return to Earth. On February 1, 2003, this harsh reality shattered the world's awe when the Space Shuttle Columbia, on its return journey to Earth, disintegrated high above Texas, taking the lives of all 7 brave astronauts aboard. It was a tragedy that shocked nations, halted a program, and left behind a complex web of questions that continue to resonate. The Columbia disaster. I've explored many mysteries, but few combine the grandeur of space with the profound sadness of human error and systemic failures, quite like the Columbia disaster. The mission, designated STS-107, was Columbia's 28th flight and was dedicated to scientific research. The fateful re-entry sequence began as scheduled. At 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 1, 2003, Columbia began its descent over the Pacific Ocean, entering Earth's atmosphere. At this phase, the shuttle was traveling at incredible speeds, over 20 times the speed of sound, and its protective thermal tiles were exposed to temperatures reaching thousands of degrees Fahrenheit, unbeknownst to anyone on the ground at the time. A critical event had occurred just 81 seconds after launch on January 16, as Columbia continued its re-entry. The subtle, unseen damage began its deadly work. At 9 a.m. EST, as the shuttle streaked across the Texas sky, the last communication from Commander Husband was received, a routine transmission that abruptly cut off mid-space. The dream of its return had become a devastating nightmare, ending a mission that, on the surface, appeared flawless. In the immediate aftermath of the disaster, the search for debris became one of the largest ground recovery efforts in U.S. history. Over 25,000 searchers, including thousands of volunteers, scoured vast stretches of Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. They recovered more than 84,000 pieces of debris, representing about 38% of the shuttle's dry weight. This painstaking recovery process was crucial, as it allowed investigators to piece together what truly happened to Columbia. It entered the wing structure, rapidly increasing temperatures inside the wing, causing structural failure. It identified critical organizational and cultural factors within NASA that allowed this known problem to escalate into a catastrophe. The board found that, as the internal wing structure weakened, the aerodynamic forces eventually overwhelmed the shuttle, leading to its catastrophic breakup. But it had been normalized as an acceptable risk, because prior incidents had resulted in catastrophic failure. This led to a belief that foam strikes were merely a maintenance issue rather than a potential safety hazard. The CIIB's analysis confirmed that the sequence of events began with that seemingly innocuous foam strike during launch. Their requests for additional imagery to assess the damage were either denied or not escalated to the appropriate levels of management. And the Challenger explosion in 1986, noting similar underlying cultural issues within NASA regarding risk assessment, dissenting voices, and decision-making processes. The board found that there was a broken safety culture, where dissenting opinions were not always heard or acted upon effectively. It outlined 29 recommendations for NASA to implement before the shuttle fleet could fly again, emphasizing the need for a fundamental shift in how the agency approached safety and risk. This comprehensive and unflinching examination revealed that the Columbia disaster was not just an accident, but a tragedy rooted in a complex interplay of physical events and human decisions. To uncover the root causes of the tragedy, an independent body, the Columbia Accident Investigation Board, was formed, led by Admiral Harold W. Gemin Jr. The CIB conducted an exhaustive 8-month investigation. This foam strike created a breach, a hole roughly 6 to 10 inches in diameter, in the reinforced carbon-carbon panel on the leading edge of the left wing. This panel was part of the shuttle's critical thermal protection system, designed to shield the spacecraft from the extreme heat of reentry. Their findings, released in a comprehensive report in August 2003, laid bare not only the immediate technical cause, but also the deeper organizational and cultural issues within NASA that contributed to the disaster. The CAIB definitively concluded that the primary physical cause of the Columbia disaster was the impact of a piece of foam insulation from the external tank that struck the left wing during launch. During re-entry, the superheated plasma, generated by the shuttle's friction with the atmosphere, began to penetrate this breach. However, the CIIB's investigation went beyond the technical failure. A culture of complacency had developed regarding foam strikes. Foam shedding from the ET was a known issue, occurring on previous flights. Poor communication and lack of integrated risk assessment. Engineers who expressed concerns about the foam strike during Columbia's mission faced internal resistance, scheduled pressures and resource constraints. While not a direct cause, the relentless pressure to maintain launch schedules and operate within budgetary limits may have inadvertently contributed to a prioritization of schedule over rigorous safety assessments in some instances. Failure to learn from past accidents. The CAIB drew parallels between the Columbia disaster. The CIAB's report was not just an explanation of a technical failure. It was a scathing critique of NASA's management practices and safety culture. This comprehensive and unflinching examination revealed that the Columbia disaster was not just an accident, but a tragedy rooted in a complex interplay of physical events and human decisions. The Columbia disaster sent shockwaves through NASA, the US government, and the global space community. It immediately led to the grounding of the entire Space Shuttle fleet for over 2 years, halting all manned space flights by the US during that period. The inherent risks and high costs associated with operating the aging shuttle fleet became undeniable. While the CAB report is widely accepted by mainstream scientific and engineering communities, there are still nuanced debates about the what-ifs and the subtle contributing factors. Debate, a persistent question, revolves around whether the crew could have been saved if the severity of the foam strike had been fully understood. It describes how repeated successes despite minor anomalies can lead to a gradual acceptance of deviations from safe practices. However, these theories lack credible evidence and are not supported by the vast amount of debris analysis and expert testimony collected by the CAIB. The repeated, non-catastrophic foam shedding incidents on previous shuttle flights, tragically, became normal in NASA's operational culture. Some engineers within NASA had indeed advocated for an in-orbit inspection or even a rescue mission by the Atlantis shuttle, but these options were dismissed. It highlighted not only the fragility of complex machinery operating at extreme limits, but also the critical importance of a robust safety culture, transparent communication, and the willingness to question assumptions, even in an organization as esteemed as NASA. The memories of the 7 brave astronauts lost that day continue to inspire caution and relentless pursuit of safety, ensuring that their sacrifice helps pave a safer path for humanity's future journeys to the stars. The CAIB explicitly stated that foam strikes were not just an anomaly. If this powerful story has left you pondering the lessons learned from humanity's quests for the stars, and you want to follow along as I uncover the world's most baffling true stories, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Tony, and hit that notification bell, so you don't miss our future explorations into the unknown. Until then, keep questioning, because some truths are truly beyond comprehension, but a critical precursor to disaster, implying that better communication and risk assessment could have changed the outcome. This tragedy, combined with the Challenger disaster nearly 2 decades earlier, led to the final decision to retire the Space Shuttle program after its remaining missions were completed. The last shuttle flight, STS-135, occurred in 2011, marking the end of an era and shifting NASA's focus towards new spacecraft and methods for transporting astronauts to the International Space Station. This lengthy hiatus allowed NASA to implement the CAIB's 29 recommendations, focusing on significant changes to safety protocols, management structure, and engineering practices. These included mandatory in-orbit inspections of the shuttle's thermal protection system using robotic arms and cameras, and the development of new procedures for foam shedding prevention. Beyond the immediate operational changes, the Columbia disaster had a profound and lasting impact on the future of human space. Despite the exhaustive investigation and the clear official conclusions, the Columbia disaster continues to spark discussions and, in some cases, lingering questions among space enthusiasts and critics. Could it have been prevented? The role of normalization of deviance. This concept, explored by sociologist Diane Vaughan in her analysis of the Challenger disaster, also applies to Columbia. Alternative hypotheses, while not widely accepted, a few fringe theories have emerged, ranging from material defects beyond the foam strike to more conspiratorial ideas about the true nature of the mission or external interference. Ultimately, the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster stands as a poignant and powerful reminder of the immense challenges and inherent dangers of pushing the boundaries of human exploration. This has been my deep dive into the tragic echoes of the Columbia disaster.